Hello everyone and welcome back to Continental Club, your weekly look at the biggest news and talking points from across the continent. No Doogie Critchley this week. He's busy skiing, working hard still, texting away, tweeting away on the chairlifts. Doesn't take a day off, that man. He deserves our respect. But instead, joining myself and Mikey, we have Zac Gelab. Zac, how's it feel to be back on Continental Club?
Long time, I think. It's homecoming. Someone plays some Kanye West in the background. Yeah, no, it's good, man. It's good. I'm looking forward to it. Haven't really spoken about like European football in a long time. I was doing a bit of research myself for some of these players and just keeping an eye and refreshing myself. And yeah, no, it's nice. I'm looking forward to it, mate.
Love it. Well, Mikey, we are happy to have Zac on, aren't we? How are you also, my friends?
Yeah, not too bad. Speaking of Kanye West, I finished the documentary last night. Really good. Recommend anyone goes and watch it. Anyone who's just a fan of music in general. I think it's just a really good insight into an artist. But yeah, I'm good.
Is that the Genius one on Netflix?
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
But it's great because it's just like a lifelong friend of him who was filming him for 20 years, basically.
Yeah, so some of the footage in it is insane.
It's ridiculous.
Like just got him doing Through the Wire and everything like that. But
yeah, the early years in particular are pretty amazing to see. The final episode is a bit more sad because for obvious reasons. But yeah, so yeah, it's really good. But yeah, I'm good. Otherwise, Henry, how are you?
Yeah, good. Might shock a few people out there to discover I'm not a huge Kanye fan, but No, I watched that clip of him recording with Jamie Foxx, and I thought it was really cool. It was amazing. It's great to see like how some of these songs get made. But yeah, no, I'm well. Off to Rome this weekend. I'm going to do a shameless plug for my marathon at the end of the show. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. So yeah, I've got that big weekend ahead. But anyway, what we're going to start looking at this week on Continental Club, because although it's the international break, although there aren't really loads of games to talk about, I feel as if this week has been quite monumental in terms of next season taking shape for some of the biggest sides. There's talks that Mazraoui has accepted a Barcelona contract, and Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that Franck Kessie is all but signed up with the Catalan Giants for next season. Another big snag by the club in that free market. Well. Yeah, I mean, McCubbin, we spoke a little bit about this on the podcast, but I want to hear your perspective on it, because our take on it was, sure, why not bring him in? But at the same time, like, where's he going to play in this Barcelona side? Because they've already got so much quality running through that team. Is he necessarily a step up on what they've already got?
No, he isn't. I think that's the main gripe with it, I guess, for most people, is that he doesn't really upgrade that midfield. I think he's a good option in the midfield, but he's not like an out-and-out holding midfielder in the way that, say, Busquets is. He's obviously not as good a passer as Busquets. He's very much more a player who drives play forward with the ball at his feet. But nevertheless, I mean, there's question marks over the futures of Ricky Puig. I think Sergio Roberto's contract is up this year as well. So I think from a Barca perspective, it actually makes a fair amount of sense, because they want to be challenging on multiple fronts next year, and I think having a lot of top quality midfield options will be good for them, especially if, say, Pedri gets injured again, as he did this season and missed 2-3 months. So I think it makes sense from their perspective. I think it makes less sense in some ways from Franck Kessie, because he's got he's going from a side where he's pretty much undroppable to a side where I think he will probably spend quite a lot of time on the bench. And obviously, playing for Barca is a ton of players' dream, right? So in that sense, we've seen a number of players join the club and kind of be happy to play more of a bit part role, or be more of a rotation option. But having said that, this is a player entering his peak years, who may win a Serie A title with Milan this summer, and could probably start at a number of top clubs. But Barca, that's not guaranteed. So essentially, I think it's a better move for Barca than it is for Kessie.
Yeah, I mean, Zac, would you agree? I mean, 6.5 million euros per year, that's not really a squad rotation salary. Certainly for someone that has been playing week in, week out, being almost a talismanic figure for that AC Milan side.
Yeah, I think Mikey's kind of hit the nail on the head there. From a Barca point of view, it's great. Another improvement kind of on someone like Riqui Puig, who may be leaving the club. But from Kessie, it is a bit more of a weird one. Like, I don't know whether it's a club that maybe as he was growing up ended up watching. Obviously, Yaya Toure played for them, and that is from the same nation that he's from in the Ivory Coast. So maybe there's that kind of link there. Otherwise, you kind of look at it and you think, well, he's going from an AC Milan side who've just got back to the peak of their powers, and who knows, maybe in the summer we'll even try and improve and try and improve him more so, to a side that's just finding their feet again and is just starting. And maybe that's an exciting project. And as you said, Barcelona does have the glamour and the glitz that it brings with it, and obviously living in Spain and stuff like that. Maybe that kind of stuff is something that interests him. But I do just find it maybe a little bit weird that he wouldn't want to kind of see out a little bit more of this AC Milan journey. Like, if they do end up winning the Serie A, and like, from my own personal stake, like I kind of hope they do, I think it'd be a great little journey and story for him. Then maybe he does feel like, well, I've kind of done everything I can now in Italy, I'd like to try something else, and so maybe that side of it is more of like the human side is what's getting him to move on. But yeah, no, it'll be really, really interesting. I think, as you said, from a Barca point of view, it's not too bad. From him, it's just a bit more like questionable. Like, I don't think it's necessarily like the fact that he wants to go and challenge for the La Liga or play in the Champions League. Like, he'll be doing that anyway with Serie A. So I think it might be more of like a personal level, or possibly the wages. Like, maybe AC Milan aren't able to offer him the same amount of wages that Barcelona are.
Yeah, I agree. The sort of football romantic in me wishes that he was going to stick around at San Siro, and he'd sort of said he wanted to do that originally, but clearly, as sort of Mikey alluded to, the opportunity to play for Barcelona, maybe not one to turn down every now and then. Anyway, that was one of the main stories this week. We saw Dybala, we'll get onto him a little bit later, but there's been loads of massive rumours popping up in the press, one of which I think is really interesting, because what I want to do on this show is go through some of these rumours, these stories that we're reading about, and maybe like rank them, maybe get our perspective on them. The first one I want to kick off with is Ryan Gravenberch to Bayern Munich. Talks that they've commenced a €25 million transfer. That's kind of the fee that they're trying to get over the line, the Bavarian Giants. Mikey, I mean, I like this transfer. I think this is cool. I think he's a serious player, isn't he?
Oh yeah, very much so. And I think a player who, the kind of midfielder actually that we've not really seen at Bayern that much in recent years. Like, he's quite unique in that he's, obviously, coming from the Ajax school, he's a great passer. He has a really good understanding of the game, but he's, in terms of his ability on the ball, in terms of his kind of dribbling ability, and it's very like, he's a real all-round midfielder in that sense. And going somewhere like Bayern, I think potentially he'd have a bit more defensive responsibility, considering just how attacking that lineup is. They're playing kind of Jamal Musiala as a kind of a deep lying midfielder recently, haven't they? So there's a lot of defensive responsibility in that sense in Julian Nagelsmann's system. Unlike someone like Kimmich, who is a lot more kind of naturally reserved in terms of his positioning, obviously does get forward and attack as well. Gravenberch is very much an attack first kind of midfielder. So I don't know whether he's been brought in as, say, maybe a future number 10 to replace Müller, or whether he's going to be playing a more reserved role. Not quite sure what the thinking is, but equally, I mean, 25 million euros that has been their first offer. I think that's like 15 million plus 10 million in add-ons. So I mean, terrible deal for Ajax, but I mean, his contract's up next summer, isn't it? The summer of 2023 when I say next summer. So they're not in a great negotiating position. I think Gravenberch has pretty much said he doesn't want to sign a new contract. Essentially, Ajax aren't giving him the money that he wants. And in that sense, I think Bayern, he's probably going to leave this summer. I think he's already said that he doesn't want to leave for free, kind of out of respect to the club. So he's definitely going to leave this summer. And at the moment, it doesn't look like anyone but Bayern are going to get him. He's been linked with, say, Man United. He's been linked with Real Madrid, but there's not really been anything coming out from their ends in the last few weeks. So yeah, I think it's probably going to be Bayern for him. And yeah, in some ways it's a bit of a dull move because he's coming into a team that's already dominating its league and everything, but and also has a ton of midfielders. So yeah, I mean, I guess he'd be trying to displace Goretzka in that midfield. But yeah, no, I mean, in terms of his football education, there's not many better places, are there, going to play under Nagelsmann. It'll be really exciting for him.
It's interesting what you say about Goretzka, because when I first read this, I thought surely there isn't actually much room for him in this Bayern squad, and it really depends. They either play a sort of a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-1-4-1, in which case Kimmich is the pivot in that one in front of the defence, and he's not getting in above Kimmich. I mean, not many players in the world are. But Goretzka, his injury record is a lot more shocking than I first anticipated. He's only played 900 minutes in the Bundesliga this term thanks to various hip issues. And in fact, he's missed 36 games with 14 separate injuries or illnesses since the start of the 2019-20 season, according to Transfermarkt. Which, I mean, he just seems so good when he plays, you almost forget that they miss him from time to time. And beyond the fact you say that Musiala can drop in midfield, they've got Mark Rocker, but he's only appeared 8 times this term. So actually, when you think about it, to bring in a sort of a teenage sensation like Gravenberch, there probably is room for him in that Bayern Munich squad. And it's although you say that he might be playing further forwards, I mean, Zach, you've been watching him. From my perspective on Gravenberch is that he's more of a deep-lying defensive midfielder. That seems to be where his best contribution comes to the team, although he is capable of producing goals and assists at the other end.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we've got to remember as well, for someone like him who's 19 years old, 6'2", like strong, can carry the ball fantastically well. Like, he can kind of be crafted into whatever midfielder you would want him to be. He's obviously not going to be the destroyer. I think if you do make him into that kind of player, like, that's just a waste of his talents. And so he does need to be partnered with someone like that. But when you have Joshua Kimmich at Bayern Munich, he's kind of the perfect guy to partner him with. If you are playing this two kind of deep-lying playmakers. And so I think there is definitely a place. You are right, Goretzka is getting a lot of injuries at the moment, and so I feel like you're getting to a stage where he can't be relied upon every single season. Aurélien Tchounaméni is also looking like he's going to be leaving the club as well this summer, so minutes are going to be available. And if they get him for 25 million euros, like, it's an absolute steal. It's outrageous to kind of get a player of his level who's 19, and even in just 5 years' time, if he signs a 5 years deal, is only going to be 24 years old. Like, you can sell him on for huge profit if he doesn't turn out to be the real deal, which looks very unlikely. He does look like a very fantastic player. Or you keep him and it goes on, or you get a great 5 years out of him if he decides to run down his contract and move elsewhere. Like, from a Bayern Munich point of view, this is nowhere near a bad deal in any stage. For Gravenberch, like, it's perfect. He can move to a league where he's going to get lots of possession. He's going to be able to show his talents by pushing the ball forward. He's going to be playing with fantastic players around him, arguably the best striker in the world in Lewandowski and other talents as well that Bayern Munich have. Musiala, who'll probably push further up as well in the pitch. And so, like, it's a deal that comes around. It's almost kind of too perfect. It's quite surprising that no one else has started maybe a bidding war, and that might be something that we do see. Maybe if other clubs get hear that, okay, Bayern Munich are getting him for around 25 million euros, they'll also try. The big issue, I think, with getting him is Mino Raiola. He is an agent who knows what he wants, and okay, it might be 25 million pounds or million euros to Ajax. How much is coming into the agent's pocket? How much is in the signing bonus and stuff like this? So that kind of side of it may be where we start to see some rumours unveil themselves, and also, like, his relationship with clubs. Like, you mentioned Manchester United there. We know at the moment Mino Raiola does not have a good relationship with Man United, and so it's really, really interesting. Like, I think from Gravenberch's point of view, it's perfect. Like, it's one of the best possible outcomes for him to be playing in a team like this where he is going to get minutes, and that's the key thing. Like, for someone in his career who is 19 years old, he needs to be playing football, and Champions League and top level football at that. And so he's got to be getting his minutes, and if it can be guaranteed at Bayern Munich, then it's the perfect place to go.
Love that. I think we're all giving that transfer a thumbs up, a big thumbs up.
Defo.
For the sounds of it. Right, another player out of Ajax. It looks like they're going to get raided again if they lose Ten Hag. I kind of feel sorry for them, but lots of reports that Seb Haller is getting looked at heavily by Inter and Borussia Dortmund. Another one which I kind of rate. So far, I mean, it's been a good week for Inter Milan so far. They managed to extend Brozovic's contract, which is huge, until 2026. Milan Skriniar's made it clear that he wants to stay on. They're trying to push through a new contract for him until 2027. And according to the Italian journalist Niccolò Ceccarini, Inter have already started their pursuit of a new centre forwards. They've got Dzeko in at the moment. They've sort of bought in Joaquin Correa, and they've got to have a few reserve centre forwards. But really, those guys are on loan, and Dzeko isn't the long-term solution to that sort of strike partnership with Lautaro Martinez, is he at all? And according to the reports, like the starting price for Haller from Ajax at the moment is 35 million euros, which once again, I think it's pretty reasonable. 27 years old, he's completely moved on from his period at West Ham United. It would be turning a profit for them. They only paid 22 million euros from the Hammers for him. And if we look at his goal scoring this season, it's nuts, isn't it? Scoring 33 and 35 appearances, including 11 in 8 Champions League outings. He was just awesome. Apparently Dortmund's looking at him as well as a potential replacement for Erling Haaland. Mikey, the only other thing that I wanted to ask you is, I also read that they're looking at, it's between him basically and Scamacca, Gianluca Scamacca from Sassuolo, in terms of who might be leading their line next season. I really like Scamacca. He's 4 years younger than Haller. For a similar price, who would you be looking to go for, do you think?
It's difficult to pick between the two. I think Scamacca obviously has a great Serie A record, 13 in the league this season. Like you say, he's a lot younger, could probably be moulded a little bit more. But equally, I don't know, Haller coming into that Inter side, I think would be really scary. And in some ways, Inter, I think, have benefited from signing more experienced heads in recent years, players who can come in and hit the ground running. I don't think Scamacca would. I think Scamacca would be a very decent signing, but I think Haller, coming off the season that he's having, 33 goals this term, taking around 4 shots a game, albeit obviously in a super hyper attacking Ajax side, but yeah, no, I mean we see what he's like. He's proven, first of all, that he can play. As a centre forward by himself at Ajax, but we obviously saw with Luka Jovic in the Bundesliga for Frankfurt that he's can also thrive as part of a front two, and I could imagine him and Lautaro linking up really nicely. He's brought a lot of aerial presence in the box to Ajax as well, and I think that would be an asset to a club like Inter, where you've got a lot of or where there is the option of crosses coming in from out wide. Obviously, we've seen that less so with Inzaghi at the helm as we did with Conte, but that gives them that extra edge up top. So I would probably go, if we're talking around the same kind of price tag, then I would probably go for Haller.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he. Yeah, for me, I think he would be a more astute signing for Inter.
Yeah, to be fair, he's proven in the Champions League. I think if they can get Alexis Sanchez off their books as well, they should have more funds available. Potentially sell Stefan de Vrij in centre half. I think that is certainly, if they're going to extend Skriniar's contract as well, I think him and Bastoni are certainly the future of that defence. If we stay in Milan for our next one, because this is as per Sky Sports, Zach, with a heavy heart, it looks like Divock Origi will be leaving Liverpool this summer and heading to AC Milan as a free agent, which is an interesting move, actually. I mean, what do you make of this one? As I said, being reported by Sky Sports, looks like it might be confirmed even by the time this video goes out. What do you make of it?
Yeah, it's a tough one, to be honest. Like, if I'm being completely honest, even though he's been there for a long time now at Liverpool, I can't really say I know so much about the way Divock Origi is as a forward. I know he's loved by Liverpool fans, and that is obviously due to him scoring some massive goals for them throughout his career out there at Merseyside. But I don't know. I don't think I can possibly sit here and say, you know what, this guy's going to bang in Serie A, or he's going to be fantastic, because I don't feel like we've ever seen a run of games with him and be able to understand, well, maybe some consistency. Like, he's been a great impact sub, and I doubt that's how AC Milan are going to be using him. Obviously, AC Milan have Zlatan Ibrahimovic now, who's into his 40s. Olivier Giroud is soon to be 36. And so they do need to think about the future and getting some young legs within that. And so in terms of age and profile, like, I think it's a pretty good signing in terms of Origi. 26 years old, he's good in the air, can shoot with both feet, and he's also, you know, decent amount of pace on him as well. And so in terms of that side of things, it looks pretty good. Like, it does look pretty good. But in terms of his, like, me being able to tell you that this guy is going to be able to join Serie A perfectly, I just don't really know. Like, I don't feel like we've seen enough of him to be able to give a solid a solid idea of what AC Milan will be expecting. Like, I don't think it'll be awful. I don't think he'll join them and be a total flop or anything like that. But I don't feel like I could sit here and say, you know what, he'll score 20 goals in his first campaign, just because I'm not too sure. But with the way AC Milan play, and obviously they want that kind of central figure, he has the right build for it. He has the right kind of player profile to fit that at the moment. So who knows, maybe he does join and he scores 20 in his first season.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, my concern, Mikey, is that, like, if he's going there to get minutes, I mean, Giroud doesn't look as if he's going to be slowing down next season. Zlatan looks as if he'll certainly get minutes if he does end up staying. Is Origi guaranteed to be starting over these guys? Bear in mind that we hardly see him.
Yeah, I mean, it's a risk in that sense, but I think if you're Origi, you take it, right? You're going to another top club on the rise. There's no way back. There's obviously no way back into that Liverpool team, is there? You know, the signings of Jota and Luis Diaz and the emergence of Harvey Elliott, like you're saying. There's no way back. I think you just go and fight for your place. I think it's a much easier forward line to get into. I think, you know, as we've seen, Zlatan is rarely injury free these days. Hasn't been for the last 4 or 5 years really. Giroud as well, you know, will always need rest time, and you get opportunities at that point. Ante Rebic has actually, to be fair, struggled since coming back from injury this season to get back into that side. But I rate Origi more than Rebic as a centre forward. To be honest, I think he's a more natural fit for this AC Milan side. I'm quite excited to see what he can do when he's actually played at centre forward, you know, for a run of games, because at Liverpool he wasn't even really coming on as a centre forward, was he? He was often being pushed out to the left if Mane was injured. I feel like we haven't really seen him in his best position properly for a long time. And it's mad that he's still only 26. Just goes to show how young he was when he actually arrived at Liverpool. Feels like he's been playing for donkey's years. But I'd be very behind this move.
I thought he was about 23 when he signed for Liverpool. I was completely wrong. I think he was still only a teenager coming off from Lille. So I know what you mean. It's crazy to think he's 10 years younger than Giroud at this point in his career already. But all right. Let's wait and see how that transfer turns out. But I put it out there on Twitter. I asked some of you guys to send in your favourite suggestions of transfers that you've seen in recent weeks, and we said we'd react to those. First one comes in is Raphinha to Barcelona. This comes in from @Branid Muller, and I've included the quote in his tweet actually because I think this is interesting. Would be an amazing deal if the price is right. Zac, good player, don't get me wrong, but this move makes zero sense to me considering everything involved and the players they've already got. I don't understand why they would pursue this. Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that they certainly are weighing up looking at this as a potential option. What do you make of this?
Yeah, there's been a few clubs after Raphinha, isn't there? Obviously, before the sanctions, Chelsea were interested too. I think Fabrizio Romano also confirmed that. Bayern Munich had a bid rejected, or they reportedly put a bid of £42 million in January for Leeds. There's also then the question of what happens if Leeds get relegated. Is there a relegation clause where you can go for much cheaper? But yeah, it's interesting from Barcelona's point of view. Like, obviously, he's predominantly a right winger and plays on the right side for Leeds. And just not too long ago, they went and brought in Adama Traore, who is a right winger, and actually been doing pretty well over there. And then they've also got Ferran Torres, who, when he plays on the wing, can play on either wing, but obviously can play on the right and through the middle. And then they've also got Ousmane Dembele if he stays at Barcelona. So that's a lot of competition there for someone to, if Leeds stay up, pay a lot of money for if £42 million isn't enough. I think Raphinha is an exciting player. I think especially during the beginning of the season, he was on fire. Really, he was ridiculous, and then obviously fell out with Bielsa, and kind of he kind of slowed down a little bit since then. So he is really interesting. He is still he is still youngish, but I mean, I sit there and I think, do Barcelona need him really just yet? If they're going to be spending £50 million, I think that is the key bit. That is the key figure here, is how much money is he going to cost you? If Leeds do get relegated and it then turns out, you know what, the fee is 20 million, I think 100% snap your arm off. I think it's probably too good of a deal to just ignore, whilst every other club is probably going to go after him as well. But even from Raphinha's point of view, I mean, maybe him growing up, it was kind of like the Kessie thing I mentioned earlier. Maybe he grew up watching Ronaldinho and all his idols play for Barcelona, and Spanish clubs like Real Madrid and Barcelona have such a history, and like they're loved so much by South American countries. It's probably like the predominant, or at least back when they were growing up, it's the predominant football you were watching. It was these guys play, and so you'd understand maybe the pull that Barcelona has for him, over than like a Bayern Munich or a Chelsea or Manchester United, for him personally. But yeah, at 25 years old, like I don't know. I just think it'd be a bit silly, really, for Barcelona to go and spend something like £50 million on him for this summer, especially when you don't even know what their financial situation is. I know they've got the loan deal back, and they're obviously capitalising on all this free transfer market and doing really, really well at that. But then I feel like maybe your money can probably be spent better elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree. If you lose Dembele, maybe think about it. But otherwise, I don't. He's not. Nowhere near the level as Dembele, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
I'd probably put them about the same level, to be honest. Like, I'm not necessarily impressed by Dembele, but Dembele's Barcelona career has been a mess, and partially that's not down to his fault with injuries and stuff like that. I'd probably put them at the same level, if I'm being quite honest, in terms of the footballing ability at the moment. They're about the same age as well, aren't they? And so
I think so.
What do you think, Mikey? Be a year younger. I think it'd be a great move. But yeah, with caveats, obviously. Like Dembele, I mean, I think Dembele is still likely to leave this summer. I know he's been in probably his best form of his career in the last 2 months, but I really wouldn't bank on him staying. I think so. I think they will probably need some sort of cover on the right. I don't know whether, I don't know what their thinking is with them.
Player?
Sorry? Well, I don't know what their thinking is with Adama Traore. That's the thing, because if Adama Traore, they might just decide not to sign Adama Traore as well. In which case, they really do need someone on the right. So I think if both of them go, I think Raphinha would be a great option. But if say they do decide to keep Adama Traore or Dembele stays, then going for a better value, younger, up and coming right winger, say out of Ligue 1, for example, or out of Portugal, would be a better use of their money. I think better use of their resources, and also I think centre forward still needs to be a priority for them in the summer. Centre forward, perhaps left back, maybe centre back. Assuming that they already have kind of Mazraoui kind of tied up at right back. Not that he's necessarily like an upgrade on their right backs at the moment, but. I think in terms of forward options, I think centre forward probably needs to be more of a priority. Aubameyang has been amazing, but I do think they need another option in there as well.
All right, there we go. Bit split opinions on this Raphinha deal. Mikey, I'll just stay with you for the next one, because this, obviously, Paulo Dybala, it's come out that he's potentially a free agent. You never know, things could probably change. Looks like he was going to be leaving for free at present from Juventus this summer. A lot of you suggested Dybala to various clubs. The one I thought was most interesting was Dybala to Atletico Madrid. This came from at El Shawari 92_92, regular contributor, I believe. And it's an interesting one. I sort of, when I first looked at it, I thought, not sure about this at all. Sort of did a bit more research into it. The club's president, Enrique Cerezo, he refused to rule out a move for the Argentine international. He told Marca, quoted by Marca, as saying, Dybala is a great player, but at the moment he's a Juventus player. We could be interested or not. We'll see. There's a long way to go before August. We could be interested, maybe not. I mean, that's so funny. But Luis Suarez is probably going to be gone at the end of this year with his contract. He's also like 35 years old, isn't he? Angel Correa has been basically sort of carrying that attack at certain points. João Felix is coming back into some real form at the moment. But I mean, do you think he'd be a good fit for Atletico, Mikey? I'm on the fence about this. Maybe he could. I'm just not sure if that side is necessarily the right one for him.
Yeah, I struggle with Atleti at the moment. I think they had such a good record with centre forwards for most of the 2010s, didn't they? And even before then. And then in the last few years, it hasn't really worked out. Aside from Suarez, obviously João Felix has been in tremendous form recently, but he's had a pretty tough time under Simeone. Let's face it. Griezmann's return has not gone to plan, has it? And Dybala is not. Dybala is very much more of a kind of Griezmann / João Felix kind of player rather than an out-and-out goal scorer. I know he has played that role before, but it was quite a long time ago now. Was it 17, 18, I think, where he scored like 30 goals for Juve, and he that was when it really felt like this is the preeminent kind of attacking talent in world football. And obviously injuries, he's had a really tough time with injuries over the last 2-3 years. That contract situation at Juventus, I think, was always hanging over him. And Juve, as a team, have been a weird one over the last few years, since kind of even before Allegri first left. So, in that sense, I feel like Dybala, he slightly feels like damaged goods at the moment, and I feel like Atleti isn't necessarily the best option for a player like that. Really, he needs to enter a side where very quickly a team can be built around him, and really play to his strengths as a forward. And I don't trust Simeone to do that, I'm afraid. Like, I think if Atleti was that kind of club, then we would have seen it already with someone like João Felix, and we haven't. So I think, I think he could be an asset to Atleti if he stays fit. But I think from his perspective, I think you'd want to be entering a much more kind of free scoring team with a manager who really knows how to kind of elevate all his attacking players. I think after the kind of time he's had at Juve in the last few years, I think I'd just want to go to a side that's like scoring loads and like winning trophies.
They are trying to be. They've scored the third most in La Liga, only 6 fewer than Real Madrid, who are leading the charts. Not that any of them are really blitzing the league in terms of goals, but they're not as defensive. But I mean, I highlighted
they're not, but they are still they're struggling as a result of not being as defensive, aren't they? That's part of the issue, is that their attack just is not very consistent.
Yeah, no, I put down Rodrigo de Paul's numbers because I think that is quite a telltale sign. He went from scoring 9 and assisting 9 for Udinese last term to just 2 goal involvements, 600 minutes of La Liga action. A bit like Thomas Lemar. He's kind of changed what he is as a player to fit into this Atletico team, and he is sort of he's contributing in other ways, but it is a worrying sort of. That's not why they bought him. Do you know what I mean? That's not why they bought in Rodrigo de Paul, and I do kind of worry that Dybala would sort of just fumble along for a couple of years.
Well, if you're Dybala as well, right? Like because when he came through, he looked so much fun. Like, he really, really did. And you mentioned that season where he scored 30 plus goals, and it felt like, wow, this is Dybala. And he did get really, really unfortunate with injuries. And like, if I'm being honest, like I forget about him. I forget he exists at times, like just due to him not playing at all or not being available due to injury all the time. And so he does need it. He does need a new club where he can just kind of refresh and forget about everything that's happened over the past few years, and a club that is fun and quite exciting. And it could be like I still think that if Man City miss out on Haaland, like maybe have a pop at Dybala. I wouldn't be surprised if PSG might go in for him too when Kylian Mbappe leaves. But I would love him to go to like not a top level club, but one just underneath. I don't think he will, because his wages, he'll want huge wages, and obviously the top ones are going to do it. But I'd love it if he went to like a club that's just playing like really exciting attacking football, and he could just kind of get used to having kind of like fun again with football, rather than what it's been recently for him. Yeah,
I agree with that. I quite like that sentiment. I think we said on the podcast PSG would just be a classic boring transfer.
Yeah, it depends what he wants, man. Like if he wants money, which he probably will do, and I wouldn't blame him. Like he'll just go to one of the top ones that are offering like a ridiculous amount of money, and we'll see him retire within about 6 years, having not really done much.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's quickly just run through some of the final suggestions that came in. We had Ronald Araujo to United. That came from @YoungDefender. Wow. I think that would be great if they could get over the line. Apparently, they're willing to double whatever Barcelona offer him. He's, according to Mundo Deportivo, he's had one final contract offer on about £3.5 million per year. His deal expires in 2023, so if they're going to sell him, they may have to sell him this summer. I think he wants to stay. But yeah, we'll see. I obviously, if United could get him, that could be great. Talk of Juventus going there too. I think any side looking for a centre-half should be looking at Ronald Araujo if he's available as a 23-year-old. Can also play right back as well.
Chelsea.
Well, if Chelsea can sign anyone, let's see.
Yeah, very good.
Aurélien Tchounaméni, this came to Liverpool. This came from @DJ Karma 13. Great handle name, like that. I think this would be really cool. Foot Mercato's saying that Jurgen Klopp is keen to find a long-term replacement for Henderson/Milner and probably Oxlade-Chamberlain, who has an uncertain future at the club. Both Manchester United sides interested in him as well. My only concern about this move is he will be stuck behind Fabinho in that central defensive midfield role, which is where he's going to want to play. But his numbers are wicked. I mean, he's a massive... McCubbin, I know you're a big fan of him too, but he's currently averaging about 6.7 tackles and interceptions. He wins 72.4% of his aerial duels. He's also a really strong dribbler. Klopp will love this. And he ranks he's 7th in Ligue 1 for progressive passes. He's probably going to have to move on from Monaco, certainly if they don't get any form of European football at the moment. £42 million. I mean, if Liverpool are so good at the market, it seems to be, operating in around that £35 to £45 million budget area. McCubbin, do you think this would be a smart move for him to go to Liverpool? Or do you think there's too much competition in that midfield and he should maybe look elsewhere?
There is competition in that midfield, but there's a lot of players aging out, like you were saying. You know, Henderson and Milner, not necessarily the players that they once were, and are aging anyway. Even someone like Thiago he's now 30, 31. Obviously, he's had a great season there. The only issue I would have maybe from Tchouameni's standpoint is seeing that players like Keita and Thiago actually did take longer than people thought to really acclimatise in that midfield. And it is a very kind of defence-heavy midfield. It's very combative, less so this year than in years past, but that's the kind of norm and how Liverpool have kind of operated for a long time. So I'd be maybe slightly concerned about that, but equally, I don't know. You're also coming in. You're also coming into a situation where I think your game could be. You could really learn very fast off the players around you. Obviously, being managed by someone like Klopp, I think in terms of his career development, I think it would be really, really good for him. And I don't think he would necessarily be stuck behind Fabinho. I could still see him, say, playing on the right of him, and thriving because, like you say, his passing's really good. His ball carrying ability is very good. I think physically he's near enough Premier League level already. I think he was kind of accused of being quite error prone, not injury prone, error prone in the past, and I think that's the side of his game that he's improved in as well. So yeah, I think he'd be really good. I think the other option would potentially be Real Madrid, right? They've been looking at him as well, and I think Real Madrid in some ways, great, but then looking at the way that Camavinga's not really been played enough this year, that would worry me a little bit. The way that they're still struggling to move on from that midfield three that they've got, despite the fact that they do have real quality, in their ranks. So that would worry me a little bit. So I think Liverpool, in some ways, is a safer option for him.
Well, apparently he would favour a move, according to the press, to Liverpool. So, see there, Mikey, just quickly, because Darwin Núñez, another player that you really like, this comes that to Arsenal from @Liam Hawkins. I think this would be amazing if they pulled him off. I think he's such a good player. Got West Ham tried to buy him for €48 million in the winter, which I thought was outrageous. He's probably going to have to go for a lot more. But what do you make of Darwin Núñez?
Yeah, he's not really been spoken about much until now as an Arsenal option, hasn't he? It was all about obviously Vlahovic and then Alexander Isak and Jonathan David. But yeah, Núñez I think is, I don't know. I think he's unique compared to those players. He's obviously.
I think he's a better goal scorer. I think he's a better goal scorer than Isak in particular.
this season for sure. Like Isak's goal scoring record has just fallen off a cliff, hasn't it, this year? And also he just has that tenacity about him, which I've not seen as much of from the other options necessarily. Like he's a real kind of bull up front. He'll lead the press. He'll like harry defenders and the goalkeeper, which is something I think Arsenal fans would welcome. I think this Arsenal team in general is obviously does is a lot more streetwise I think than Arsenal teams we've seen in the past. But I think Núñez would complement that a lot. The only thing I don't know. I just can't picture it for some reason. But like in theory, it makes a lot of sense, and I think Arsenal have limited options this summer. We know that they're going to go for a centre forward. We know that their budget is going to be 60 plus. In that sense, he fits the bill.
Love it. Big thumbs up for me as well for this transfer. One I'm not so keen about, Zach. This was a suggestion from @Catterall Reese. Is Marco Asensio to Arsenal or Spurs? He said. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure that move makes sense for anyone.
I think from an Arsenal point of view, they've literally gone through this revamp of trying to get their young boys obviously into the attack, and the positions are kind of already taken, really. Yeah. And I don't really think Marco Asensio is doing anything to make anyone at Arsenal think, well, he should be starting over Saka. Nowhere near it at all. Saka's been flying. I don't think a move to Arsenal will be happening anytime soon. As for Spurs, not really. I think Kulusevski's come in on that right-hand side and been really, really impressive. I think they'll be taking his obligation. I think it's an obligation or is it option? I know one of either him or Bentancur has an obligation. It might be Kulusevski that has the obligation, but whatever. I think they're going to be taking him up for sure, and he's been fantastic since he's joined. I don't think Marco Asensio would be very, very good at either of those two clubs. I think for someone like him, he's probably got to be looking at slightly less than, like if say like a Leicester came in and he wanted to. I don't know if they would, but if someone of their like quality came in, that's the kind of club that he probably should be aiming for. Not been impressed by him over the past couple of years. Again, has had injuries, but not very much. Not been impressed obviously with him at Real Madrid recently, and I think if he got a move to Arsenal or Spurs, he'd be a very lucky boy.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think maybe he should just stay at Madrid for now. All right, that's it. That's all of our suggestions for this episode. Zach, if you had to choose a transfer you'd like to see happen, out of all the ones that we've kind of blitzed through, which one would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me just quickly go back through. Oh God! I guess Gravenberch to Bayern. I mean, when you were talking about Tchouameni to Liverpool, I was thinking, Gravenberch to Liverpool would be unreal. So I think he's going to have a really interesting future. I think those like midfielders that are coming through at the moment who can kind of do it all, like him, Bellingham, like there's some. I find them the most exciting midfielders to watch in the Champions League and watch them play football. I think just the fact that they can literally just pick up the ball or tackle someone on the edge of their box and drive forward. Like one of my favourite players growing up was Yaya Toure. So when I see kind of players, obviously not the same stature as him, but similar in playing style, it's fun. So I'd be very, very interested to see where he ends up for sure.
Absolutely. My favourite's Darwin Núñez to Arsenal. I think that'd be wicked. I'd like to see that happen. McCubbin, which one would you go for?
I think Origi to Milan it's got to be, hasn't it?
It does. It has to be.
Got to be. The guy deserves a starting spot at a decent club, I think. Just to see. Let's see what he can do.
I love that. Absolutely true. All right, that's it. No big match preview this week, sadly, as it is the international break. Although we should know by the time this video goes out which European sides are one step closer to the World Cup. I am backing North Macedonia all the way. Before the show, we were having a little chat about going on holiday, etc. And I thought, as a quick way to finish off, Zach, as a quick fire question, if you could visit any stadium in the world to watch a game, which one would it be?
Any stadium in the world. I've been quite fortunate. I've seen quite a few. I'd like to go to the Camp Nou or the Bernabeu. I've yet to... Oh,
classic.
No, take that off. Boca Juniors versus River Plate. I'd like to go there.
Bombardino, as it's called. I stood outside it, and it was amazing. There's an aura to it. I love that. All right, Mike, have you got any more like left field suggestions? Do you reckon?
Yeah, I feel like I always say San Siro. I'm going to stop saying San Siro now, until we actually go as a team, because we're hoping to do that hopefully one day. Yeah, I'm thinking. I was looking up at Venezia earlier. They've got a lovely stadium in Venice. Yeah, surrounded by water. Obviously, it's surrounded by water. But yeah, lovely ground. That would be great. Roma, like the Stadio Olimpico, I'd love to go and see a game there. I know you have, Zach. But then more left field, I'd love to go to Mexico. I feel like Mexico has got like a real, the football culture of Mexico is mad, and like the Liga MX is like just mad every year, isn't it? So I'd love to go and watch like Club America or Guadalajara play, or whoever really. Like, I think that would just be great. Mexico's like fairly near the top of my list for like places to go anyway. So like, yeah, if I was able to see some football there, that would be icing on the cake.
That's gas. Yeah, I went to see a Copa Sudamericana game between Defensor of Uruguay versus Universidad de Chile, and it was just like nothing else I'd ever seen. Just the second the players all walked on, people launched like receipt rolls, those white kind of almost like toilet rolls, just straight onto the pitch. It was crazy, and just the booing and the police. So yeah, I'd like to go back and, like you, maybe go to the Maracanã or something like that, to go to a proper like North American stadium. But yes, that's it. Let us know at home which stadiums you most want to visit. Give us the more niche, the better, I reckon. Zach, thank you so much for joining us on Continental Club today. Really enjoyed having you. What do you think our viewers should go to right now if they haven't already?
Well, why not check out Friday's We Need to Talk by Joe Tomlinson on Football Daily. Make sure you keep your eyes peeled for this week's Explained as well on both channels. And if you want to see even more content from us on more apps, check us out on Snapchat by typing in Football Daily. We do daily content on there as well.
Love it. Mikey, anything from you?
No, I think Zach's covered it pretty well. Yeah, go and do what he says.
Class. All right, just a shameless push from me. I am running a marathon this weekend in Rome. I'm doing it for the people of Ukraine. I am raising money for the British Red Cross, the DEC Humanitarian Fund. I'm going to leave a link in the description down below. If any of you feel like supporting me, no pressure at all, but please do let me know. Maybe the biggest donation, I'll send you a postcard from Rome. How about that?
Oh,
nice. What a treat. Or maybe a little Tammy Abraham in a snow globe, something like that. I'll see what I can find. But yeah, I'd really appreciate any support. No pressure at all. But anyway, thank you so much for watching Continental Club for another week. Make sure you're subscribed to Euro Football Daily. Hit that notification bell, all that stuff. You know what to do by now. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.